Welcome to Hope's Homemade Kitchen. Today we're going to do more candy for your holiday gift giving. Now we're going to go back in time a little bit, back to the Kraft Food Company and their famous Fantasy Fudge recipe. Now this recipe was invented in the 1950s and you can still find it today on some of their marshmallow cream labels, although it's a little bit different than the original. Now I've been making this recipe for many years, since I was a child actually, and it was our favorite in our family. It's so rich and fudgy with that extra creaminess from the marshmallow cream. We're going to use the original recipe and I'll walk you step by step through the recipe and how to get the perfect results. Now let's get started and I'll show you the ingredients. The ingredients for the Fantasy Fudge are granulated sugar, butter, chocolate chips, vanilla, evaporated milk, your choice of nuts, which are optional, and marshmallow cream. I also have a 13 by 9 inch pan that I've lined with parchment paper. Now we're going to get started by chopping up some walnuts. If you do use nuts in the recipe, you'll need about 1 cup of chopped nuts. So I'm just going to roughly chop them. I really like using pecans or walnuts in this. Okay, now the rest of the recipe will take place at the stove. So let's go over to the stove and we'll cook the fudge. Okay, we're going to start off by melting the butter, and we'll be cooking the butter, sugar, and evaporated milk together. So we'll have 3/4 cup of butter, which is a stick and a half, and I'm using salted butter. Now it's a good idea to have all of your ingredients ready to go. So as I'm melting the butter, I can go ahead and add 3 cups of white sugar, just granulated sugar. You'll need 2/3 cup of evaporated milk. Now I'm using my favorite saucepan, this 3-quart heavy bottom saucepan. For this particular recipe, you do not need a candy thermometer, and that's from the original recipe. They really made it easy by just walking you through the steps of bringing it to a full boil and then timing the full boil for 5 minutes exactly. And then at that point, it's done and ready to add your other ingredients. If you were to use a candy thermometer, you'd want to bring this mixture to about 234 degrees Fahrenheit. But we're going to do it per the original recipe today with no candy thermometer and just use our timer. Now once it comes to a full boil, we'll boil it for 5 minutes, and then we'll cut the heat and add our 4 other ingredients, which are a 12-ounce bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips, a 7-ounce jar of marshmallow cream, 1 cup of chopped nuts, and the nuts again are optional, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Then we'll pour it out in our prepared pan and we'll let it set. So it'll take a little bit for it to come to a full boil, and then we'll set our timer for 5 minutes. It is important for you to stay with it and stir it constantly once it comes to a full boil, because this mixture will burn. Now today, if you go to the Kraft website, you can find a recipe for Fantasy Fudge. The only difference between the original recipe and the one that they have out now is that they recommend a specific kind of chocolate. I think they recommend Baker's chocolate squares. I'm sticking to the original recipe where they just indicate 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Now I find, at least in my family, this recipe is pretty polarizing. Either you love fudge or you don't. I love fudge. Not everyone in my family or friends love fudge, but if you like it, you like it. And if you do like it, this is one of the best recipes, in my opinion, that you can use. Okay, it's starting to come to a boil now. It's starting around the edges. Now I want to start timing it when it comes to a full boil, which means it's boiling throughout, not just around the edges. Okay, it's starting to boil throughout, so I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. Now I just have it on medium heat. That's what the recipe calls for on my gas stove. That is a 4. Okay, we're halfway through at this point of the boil, 2.5 more minutes to go. You just want to continually stir it. Okay, that's 5 minutes. I'm going to cut the heat. I'm going to add in 12 ounces of chocolate chips. I'm using Toll House semi-sweet chocolate chips. Just want to stir that until they're well melted. Okay, next we're adding in 7 ounces of marshmallow cream. That's the Jet-Puffed Marshmallow Creme. Just stir it really well until you can't see those white streaks anymore. I'm going to add in a little bit of vanilla, about a teaspoon, and my chopped walnuts, 1 cup. Then you just want to pour it out in your prepared pan. Now you can certainly grease a pan with butter or spray it with cooking spray, that works too. I'm using parchment paper with the hopes that I can just lift it out, tear off the parchment paper, and cut it into squares when it's all cooled. Now I'm going to let this cool at room temperature for a couple of hours, and then we'll be able to lift it out and cut it. Okay, the fudge has been cooling for a little over an hour now. You can see I lifted it right up out of there because it's on parchment paper. And I'm going to use like a bench scraper to cut it. And you really just want bite-sized pieces. And you'll be putting them on a platter with other Christmas candies and cookies, or gifting them. So that's about a 1.5 or 2 inch square. All right, let's give this a taste test. That is so, so good. I've had this for so many years. It just takes me back to childhood. Rich, sweet, fudgy, and it's very smooth. It's not grainy at all. This is such a good holiday treat. You can cut them and arrange them on plates for a party like this. You can put them in tins lined with parchment paper, decorative boxes. You can really get a head start on your holiday candy making. You can make this well in advance. Wrap it. I would wrap it in foil and put it in a Ziploc bag, and it'll keep in the freezer for several months. You don't need to refrigerate this. It'll keep at room temperature for a few weeks. Just make sure you're using an airtight container and it's tightly wrapped. Thank you so much for joining me here again on Hope's Homemade Kitchen as we made Fantasy Fudge, the old 1950s recipe from Kraft Foods. I really hope you try this. It's an excellent addition to your holiday gift boxes and your holiday treat table. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the bell for notification of more videos. We'll see you next time.